The broadcast opened with a chilling montage. Shaky clips from the White House leaked just hours before. Staffers shuffled nervously in dimly lit hallways, doors slammed, and fragments of tense conversations floated into microphones. The meeting's off. No one knows what's happening, he stormed out again. The audience watching at home leaned in as the anchor's voiceover declared, "Chaos in Washington, another high-level meeting collapses, and once again, the president walks away without answers." As the live camera cut back to the studio, the crowd was buzzing, waiting for the confrontation they knew was coming. Sitting at the center table was Denzel Washington, his posture calm but his eyes sharp, radiating the kind of authority no teleprompter could imitate. Across from him, Donald Trump shifted in his seat, face flushed from both anger and fatigue. He adjusted his tie with exaggerated force, as if tightening control over the room. The moderator barely got through the first sentence. "Mr. President, today's White House meeting ended abruptly again," when Denzel leaned forward, voice low but razor-sharp. "Meetings collapse because leadership collapses. This isn't about staff disagreements. It's about you." The words cut through the studio like a blade. Gasps erupted from the audience, and the camera zoomed in on Trump's face, his mouth twitching as if struggling to form a comeback. Instead, he muttered, "Fake news," under his breath, but the microphone caught it, igniting murmurs across the studio. Denzel didn't flinch. He raised a hand, silencing the crowd before they could erupt further. "You can blame the media all you want, but the truth is, your chaos is no longer private, it's public. The nation sees it. And they are tired of being dragged into your spiral." The moderator tried to cut in, but Trump slammed the desk with his palm, snapping, "I'm the most stable leader you've ever had." The claim fell flat, met with laughter from parts of the crowd. Denzel's piercing glare never wavered. If stability looks like this, then no wonder America is shaking. The studio atmosphere turned electric. Phones lit up, social media feeds exploded with hashtags like #collapse at the top and #Denzel vs. Trump. This was no longer just a TV segment, it was a political earthquake unfolding live. Trump leaned back in his chair, the smirk on his face masking the twitch in his jaw. He tried to recover his footing with his usual bravado. "Look, nobody has built more, done more, or led more than me. Everybody knows it. These so-called collapses are nothing but routine disagreements. Happens all the time, believe me." His hands flailed in wide circles, as if motion alone could rebuild his crumbling authority. But Denzel wasn't letting him wriggle away. He leaned in, his voice measured but brimming with contempt. "Routine disagreements don't leave your own advisors walking out mid-sentence. Routine disagreements don't send markets plunging every time you open your mouth. This isn't routine, it's dysfunction. And dysfunction at the top spreads like poison to the rest of the nation." The audience applauded fiercely, some rising from their seats, feeding the tension like gasoline to a fire. Trump's eyes darted across the room, searching for sympathy, but all he saw were faces demanding answers. He slammed his hand on the table again, louder this time. "You don't understand. People love me, the meetings are strong, we're winning." Denzel cut in sharply, his voice rising for the first time. "Winning? You call this winning? Cabinet members quitting, foreign leaders mocking, and your staff leaking chaos like water through a broken dam? If that's your definition of victory, then America is drowning in it." The crowd roared, and even the moderator froze, unable to reel the moment back under control. Trump's face turned crimson, sweat glistening under the studio lights. He muttered, "Unbelievable, just unbelievable," but his voice cracked, betraying the weight pressing down on him. Denzel lowered his tone, the calm after the storm, yet sharper than before. "History won't remember your tweets, your rallies, or your slogans. It'll remember the collapse, every meeting, every failure, every truth you tried to bury. And tonight, America is watching you unravel." The silence that followed wasn't relief, it was suffocating. Everyone in the studio knew the next exchange would decide who controlled the narrative, the flailing president, or the actor unafraid to call him out. Trump's chest heaved as he tried to compose himself. His voice, usually booming with overconfidence, now cracked with desperation. "You're an actor, Denzel. A Hollywood guy. You read scripts. I run the country. People elected me, not you. So don't sit there pretending you know how to lead." His words stumbled over each other, like a man drowning in his own defense. Denzel didn't flinch. He leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and let the silence hang long enough for the weight of Trump's words to sink in. Then he answered, slowly and with precision, "You're right about one thing, I do read scripts. But at least my scripts have structure, purpose, and truth. What you're running on isn't leadership, it's chaos written in real time. And the people of this country are paying the price for it." The audience burst into thunderous applause. A woman in the front row shouted, "Tell him, Denzel," while others pounded the armrests of their chairs. The moderator tried to interject, but Denzel wasn't finished. He leaned forward now, his tone sharp as glass. "You talk about being elected. But leadership isn't just about winning a race, it's about what you do once you're there. And all we've seen is collapse. Meetings collapsing. Promises collapsing. And a president collapsing under his own lies." Trump's hands trembled as he reached for his water glass. He gulped it down, but the cameras caught the shake in his wrist. He forced a laugh, the kind of hollow chuckle that only amplified the unease. "Fake news. All fake news. They've been after me since day one," he stammered. Denzel's eyes locked on him, cold and unwavering. "It's not fake when the entire world can see it with their own eyes. You can scream fake news all you want, but tonight, the truth is louder than your denial. And the truth is simple: America is collapsing under your watch." The crowd erupted once again, this time louder than before. Trump looked cornered, his face betraying a rare vulnerability. In that studio, for the first time, it felt like the president had run out of lines. The moderator's voice cracked through the uproar, trying desperately to reel the moment back under control. "Gentlemen, please, let's keep this constructive." But the audience wasn't listening. They were on their feet, roaring as if they had just witnessed a knockout blow in a championship fight. Cameras zoomed in on Trump's face, his jaw clenched tight, his eyes darting like a man searching for an exit. Trump slammed his hand on the desk, the sound echoing through the studio. "Enough. Enough of this circus." His voice shook, not with power but with panic. "I built businesses. I built towers. I made America great. You think you can sit there and lecture me? You're nobody compared to what I've done." Denzel leaned forward, his expression carved from stone. His voice dropped into a steady, deliberate tone that cut deeper than any shout. "You built towers on unpaid labor. You built businesses by bankrupting others. You made America a stage for your ego. Greatness isn't about how high your name sits on a building, it's about whether the people under that building can stand tall. And right now, they can't." A hush fell over the crowd, not from silence, but from the collective gasp of realization. Phones lit up instantly, clips already making their way onto social media. Hashtags like #CollapseOnLiveTV and #Denzel vs Trump began trending before the segment had even ended. Trump's face flushed crimson. He leaned back, shaking his head, muttering to himself, "Unbelievable. Totally unfair." Yet even as he tried to brush it off, the cracks were undeniable. His legendary bravado had slipped, replaced by the image of a man cornered. Denzel didn't gloat. Instead, he fixed Trump with a gaze that was both firm and pitying, as if addressing not just the man across from him, but the millions watching at home. "The truth isn't out to destroy you, Mr. Trump. You've been destroying yourself. Tonight, all I did was hold up the mirror." The studio erupted once more, this time not in chaos, but in thunderous, unified applause. Trump's hand twitched on the table, as if he wanted to strike it again, but the weight of the moment pinned him down. His usual arsenal, mockery, slogans, deflection, suddenly felt flimsy under the raw gravity of Denzel's words. The camera zoomed closer, capturing every bead of sweat forming along his temple. A mirror? Trump finally shot back, forcing a laugh that sounded more like a choke. You're an actor, Denzel. A Hollywood guy reading lines. I've dealt with tougher people than you. You don't know what it's like to carry the weight of a country on your shoulders. The words drew a few scattered claps from loyal supporters in the audience, but the majority stayed stone-faced, waiting for Denzel's reply. And when it came, it was like thunder rolling in slow motion. You talk about carrying the weight of a country? Denzel asked, his voice rising now, measured but cutting. He pointed, not with a finger, but with the intensity of his presence. Real weight is carried by the soldier who comes home missing a limb, and still salutes the flag. Real weight is carried by the single mother working 2 jobs just to feed her kids. Real weight is carried by the American who still believes in democracy after watching it dragged through the mud. That's weight, Mr. Trump. And you've never carried it a day in your life. The studio crowd leapt to their feet, the sound like a wave crashing against the walls. Trump's lips parted as if to interrupt, but nothing came out. His silence was louder than any comeback he could have delivered. Behind the cameras, producers exchanged looks. They knew this wasn't just another fiery debate. This was history being burned onto the screen in real time. Denzel leaned back, calm once again, his eyes never leaving Trump. And here's the truth, he said, lowering his tone to a near whisper. You didn't come here tonight to defend America. You came here to defend yourself. And that's the difference between a leader and a man who only ever plays one. The audience roared, the hashtag weight of truth flashing across thousands of screens within seconds. The studio's roar didn't settle, it grew, carrying the energy of a breaking wave that refused to recede. Trump shifted in his chair, his tie slightly crooked now, as if even his appearance betrayed the unraveling of control. He leaned forward, his voice trembling between defiance and desperation. You think you're so righteous, Denzel? You think standing on that stage, playing the hero, makes you better than me? You've made millions pretending. I made billions building. The line hung heavy in the air, but the audience wasn't buying it. A few boos seeped through, breaking Trump's rhythm. Denzel let the silence work for him, his calm expression cutting deeper than any insult. Then, he delivered the counterpunch. Building? Denzel repeated, his tone sharp with disbelief. You built debt. You built lies. You built a cult of personality where America should have had a president. And now you stand here, in front of the very people you've shortchanged, and tell them you're their champion. You didn't build for them, you built for you. The words landed like hammers, one after another. Trump's jaw tightened, he tried to smirk but couldn't hold it. His eyes darted toward the cameras, searching for support that wasn't there. Denzel didn't relent. He leaned forward, every word deliberate. I've played heroes on screen, yes. But let me be clear, I know the difference between fiction and reality. You don't. You've been pretending for so long that you can't tell the difference anymore. And the scariest part? Neither can the people who still cheer for you. The audience gasped collectively, some rising to their feet again, their applause thunderous. In the control room, one of the producers whispered, "This is the moment. He's cornered." Trump pounded the table once, the sound echoing like a last stand. "You're nothing but an actor with opinions," he barked, his voice breaking. But the force had drained out of him, replaced with a trembling edge that betrayed the truth. Denzel sat back, steady as stone, and answered with a slow shake of his head. "And you, sir, are nothing but a salesman who mistook himself for a statesman." The crowd erupted again, louder than before, while Trump's silence became the headline. The weight of Denzel's last words settled like a gavel in the room, final and undeniable. Trump's hands clenched the edge of the table, knuckles pale, his face flushed as if the air itself had turned against him. He leaned back, shaking his head, searching for a retort. But the crowd, once divided, had turned into a tidal wave of cheers for Denzel. Every clap and shout chipped away at Trump's authority. Trump finally spat out, "You people think he's some kind of prophet? He's just an actor reading lines." He doesn't know the first thing about running a country. His voice cracked, shrill, defensive rather than commanding. The words, meant to wound, instead exposed how cornered he felt. Denzel waited. He didn't flinch, didn't interrupt. When the noise subsided, he leaned forward, eyes fixed on Trump, his tone calm but carrying the sharpness of a blade. "You're right about one thing, I'm an actor. And I know acting when I see it. Every time you walk into a room, you're putting on a performance. A show of strength, a show of wealth, a show of control. But underneath it all, there's nothing. Just fear and desperation dressed up as leadership." Gasps echoed through the studio. Trump opened his mouth, but Denzel pressed on before he could speak. "The problem is, Mr. Trump, this isn't a stage. This isn't fiction. These are people's lives. Families, jobs, dignity, all hanging in the balance. And you've gambled it all away for applause and headlines. That's not leadership. That's betrayal." The words, betrayal, hit like a hammer. In the front row, a veteran in uniform nodded, his face stern, his hands clenched in support. Cameras zoomed in, capturing the moment. Social media feeds lit up instantly, hashtags exploding across the country. Trump slammed his fist on the table, but it sounded less like strength and more like defeat. His eyes glistened, caught between rage and the creeping realization that the stage wasn't his anymore. Denzel, unwavering, sat tall and delivered the line that would echo through every headline: "You didn't just fail as a president. You failed as a man entrusted with America's soul." The audience rose again, applause shaking the room, leaving Trump small, drowning in the noise. Trump's attempt to stand was clumsy, his chair scraping loudly across the floor, amplifying the awkwardness of the moment. He pointed a trembling finger at Denzel, his voice rising with a frantic edge. "You think you're the voice of America? You're nothing but a Hollywood fraud. These people don't care what you say." His words echoed, but the audience's silence was louder. Then, a chant began, soft at first, then building: "Tell the truth. Tell the truth." The rhythm filled the studio, bouncing off the walls, suffocating Trump's denial. He looked around, bewildered, realizing that even here, in front of the cameras, control was slipping from his grasp. Denzel didn't need to raise his voice. He leaned into the microphone, his tone steady, deliberate. "The truth is simple. This country trusted you. They gave you power not to enrich yourself, not to tear apart the foundations of democracy, but to serve. And what did you do? You turned America into a brand, a spectacle, sold off piece by piece for your ego." The crowd roared, many rising to their feet, their applause drowning out Trump's protests. A camera panned to Trump's face, sweat glistening under the studio lights, his jaw tight with fury. Trump tried again, slamming his palm against the table. "You don't know the deals I've made. You don't know the battles I've fought." His voice cracked, betraying the weakness in his claim. Denzel's response cut clean through: "Battles? The only battles you've fought are with the truth, and you've lost every single one. America doesn't need a showman. It needs a leader who values honesty over applause, duty over profit, and people over power." The audience erupted, this time with a standing ovation so loud the cameras shook. The control Trump once wielded was gone, stripped from him in real time, laid bare before millions watching live. And Denzel, unflinching, sat back, letting the weight of his words carry the room into silence before the next explosion of applause. The producers in the control room whispered frantically into their headsets, trying to decide whether to cut to commercial. But they knew, they couldn't. This was history unfolding live, and the nation wouldn't forgive them if they looked away. Trump, red-faced, leaned forward with a sneer. "You think you're some kind of savior? You're an actor reading lines, nothing more." His voice dripped with contempt, but the words landed flat. The audience's groans and scattered boos revealed the shift. Denzel didn't flinch. His eyes locked on Trump's, unblinking, commanding. He spoke slowly, each word cutting through the tension. I don't need a script to tell the truth. And the truth is this: America is collapsing under the weight of your lies. You promised strength, but you gave us chaos. You promised unity, but you delivered division. You've bankrupted not just businesses, but the very soul of this nation. A woman in the front row gasped audibly. A veteran stood up, his uniform jacket neatly pressed, and shouted, "Finally, someone said it." The crowd broke into applause, drowning out Trump's attempt to retort. Trump slammed the table, the sound reverberating like a gavel. I built this country stronger than ever before. My empire, my name, it means success. He puffed his chest, trying to reclaim dominance. Denzel leaned forward, his tone sharper now. Your empire? Built on unpaid workers, broken promises, and lawsuits. You cheated builders, contractors, even the American dream itself. And now you're cheating this country the same way, selling it cheap, just to inflate your name. The ovation was thunderous. Trump's jaw tightened, his eyes darting around as if searching for escape. For the first time, he looked small, shrinking under the weight of Denzel's words and the crowd's judgment. In that moment, millions watching could feel it: the balance of power in the room had shifted. Denzel wasn't just an actor, he had become the voice of a nation exhausted by the chaos, demanding truth in the face of spectacle. The silence that followed was deafening, yet it was filled with energy, raw, electric, unstoppable. Trump, rattled, tried to laugh it off, his hands waving dismissively. You're dramatic, Denzel. That's what you do, you perform. America doesn't need performance, it needs leadership. But the words lacked conviction. Even his tone betrayed him. The audience could sense the cracks, and so could Denzel. He sat upright, his presence towering even without raising his voice. Leadership, he repeated, slowly, letting the word linger like an accusation. True leadership lifts people up. True leadership doesn't see the presidency as a brand to sell, but as a trust to honor. You haven't honored anything, not the office, not the people, not even the truth. The camera panned to faces in the crowd, tears, clenched jaws, nods of agreement. For them, this wasn't just another broadcast, it was a reckoning. Trump, now visibly sweating, barked, "I gave America greatness. More than anyone." His fists clenched, but his voice cracked in the middle, the fragility of the moment exposed. Denzel didn't let it pass. He leaned into the mic, calm but sharp as a blade. Greatness doesn't come from tearing people down. It doesn't come from lies, insults, or fear. Greatness comes from sacrifice, from unity, from truth. And the truth, Mr. Trump, is that you turned America into your personal stage, and left it weaker, divided, and ashamed. The studio erupted, cheers, whistles, chants of "truth. Truth." Trump looked cornered, his usual bravado stripped away. For once, he had no counterpunch, no comeback. He sat back, stunned, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Denzel didn't gloat. He simply let the crowd's roar carry the truth forward, his silence now louder than any words. In that instant, America witnessed not just a debate, but a symbolic collapse, the unraveling of arrogance under the force of unshakable conviction. The camera zoomed out, capturing the contrast, one man furious and flailing, the other resolute, embodying the voice of millions who had grown tired of noise. This wasn't a performance. It was history, unfiltered, undeniable, unforgettable. America, tonight wasn't about a man versus a man. It was about truth versus lies, integrity versus arrogance, hope versus fear. Trump can shout, he can deny, he can twist, but the truth will always cut through. The choice isn't about applause or ratings, it's about the future of a nation. Remember this moment, because history won't forget it. The empire built on lies can't stand forever. Truth wins, always.